My name is Andrea. I am the director of the Community Research and Engagement Strategies team at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and I have been there 10 years. My background, which applies to how we got to the community collaboration project and bringing appreciative inquiry into our museum, is actually in public health research. And so I was able to bring public health framing and lenses to what is kind of known as museum, visitor evaluation and visitor feedback. When I first came to the museum 10 years ago, people started to ask questions about the demography of people who were coming through our doors. And much like museums definitely across the country, our audience was wide majority white, higher incomes, much higher education attainment than the average, sort of definitely than Denver. And then of course, when you looked at Colorado as a whole, higher on average than all of Colorado. And wanted to understand, a business imperative question: why aren't they coming? We really wanted to take a critical look at why that was happening. And so started to go out into communities and into fairs and festivals. It was a real culture shift to go out and do this. And we started to gain perspectives about, what were some of the perceptions of the museum. And we found these amazing things. We found that whether or not people utilized us, were members, or had, came with any degree of frequency, they were proud to have the museum as part of their community. And so, one of the things then that we wanted to understand was a little bit about their leisure time and what they did see the purpose of the museum being in their lives. And as we looked demographically at the different reasons, particularly for communities of color and lower income residents, they viewed the museum as part of the formal education system. And so just like in their memory of coming to the museum as kids on a field trip, they wanted their children to have that experience. And once they did, they had kind of checked the box, It was like, great, my kiddo has done that. They've seen it, they've experienced this museum, and that's important. And I'm so glad that it happened. But didn't really see their role as being part of the formal education system, and therefore not being part of, a museum in your leisure time activities. And so we did some exploring around perceptions of the formal education system and then how that mapped to the museum. And we really wanted to become what they wanted. We knew that they wanted their kiddos to be global citizens, were things that they talked to us about, being responsible, not just for themselves and their circle, their smaller circle of maybe their family and their neighborhood, but really thinking about the collective nature of their actions in the global context. And we feel like, through nature and science, that's something that we could accomplish.